For Donald Trump and Republican leaders, this is the ultimate betrayal. Marjorie Taylor Greene turning against them on the issues of releasing the Epstein files and extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies during this government shutdown. Marjorie Taylor Greene has escalated her feud with Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And she says, I don't work for you, Donald Trump. I don't work for you, MAGA Mike Johnson. She goes, I work for the people of Georgia. And she says, while I don't like the Affordable Care Act, she says the premiums are too expensive as is. But she says if we don't extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, then people will lose their health care and they will die. I want to share with you what Marjorie Taylor Greene says as her feud with Trump and the Republicans escalates. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she blames advisors of Donald Trump. And she says, I'm trying to give him the right information, but he's surrounding himself with people who literally put on a MAGA hat a year ago who are giving him bad advice. I believe she's very wrong there. I think this is who Donald Trump always is. You go back to his first term and he promised that he would come up with a healthcare plan in 2 weeks, but he lied and lied and lied. And in my view, Donald Trump and all these MAGA Republicans want to push Americans off of their healthcare plans. They don't want the government involved at all in subsidizing or helping or lowering costs or doing anything when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, or the Affordable Care Act, because they want to take that money and they want to give it to the billionaires and they want to help billionaires get tax cuts, while Donald Trump lies and claims that he's brought in $17 trillion so he can dangle in front of people, oh, I'm going to give you dividend checks and rebate checks like a Ponzi schemer, and just lie and lie and lie and never actually deliver or say, oh, I'm going to come up with a plan. You just got to give me some time. Let me just show you what went down. We'll go over the evidence and receipts piece by piece. First, I want to show you Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was her interview with NBC, and she said, I got elected without Trump's endorsement. I don't work for him, she says. Watch this. Here, let's play it.
I certainly support the president, but I'm not, what would be the right way to say it? I'm not some sort of blind slave to the president, and I don't think anyone should be. I serve in Congress. We're a separate branch of the government, and I'm not elected by the president. I'm not elected by anyone that works in the White House. I'm elected by my district. That's who I work for. And I got elected without the president's endorsement. And, you know, I think that has served me really well. So I get to be independent, as a Republican. And I think what helps him the most is when he has people that, are willing to be honest with him and not just tell him what they think he wants to hear. And what I would say right now is to the president, and I think he already knows it based on things I've heard him say, is we have a serious situation with health insurance in this country. And I would love to see him come up with a solution. I would love to see, with everybody that works in this town, come up with a solution. And I would love to see Washington, D.C. and the government actually serve the American people for once.
Then Marjorie Taylor Greene goes on the very far right show on a network called Real America's Voices. And watch what she says here. Let's play this clip.
And to allow Democrats to have some sort of moral high ground on this issue because they're the only ones talking about it, I think is a major failure from the Republican Party. And I'm not going to stand there and just keep talking the talking points when my own adult children can hardly afford health insurance premiums, when everyone in my district, it's the number one issue that I hear about day in and day out, not just people on the ACA, but people that have private insurance as well. And I think it's something that we have to talk about. And I don't see why the government needs to be shut down. I really don't. I believe that if Republicans learn to govern and wield power, they can use the nuclear option in the Senate. They can open up the government. We can get back to work for the American people, and Republicans can solve this problem that is a very big problem that we can't ignore.
So then Marjorie Taylor Greene goes on News Nation, where she's asked to respond to an earlier interview that was on the News Nation show by MAGA Mike Johnson, who says that the subsidies is one gigantic red herring. Extending the subsidies is not a pressing issue facing the country. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, of course extending the ACA subsidies is a real issue. It's not a red herring. We're truly in the upside down world. Watch Marjorie Taylor Greene for yourself. Let's play it.
With regard to the subsidies, remember, that is 100% a red herring. It's a distraction. This is what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats put together to try to make the issue of the day.
He said the issue of the subsidies, you couldn't hear it. So he said the issue of the subsidies is a red herring. And it's something essentially that Chuck Schumer and Democrats are talking about right now.
Well, no, the issues of the subsidies are real. It's not something that anybody can say is made up. Also, people with regular or private plans, their premiums are looking to go up a median of 18%. That's brutal. I know a lot of small business owners, like a family of four, and they're paying $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month with deductibles of $7,000 to $10,000, and approximately 40% of these people don't even use their health insurance. So they're just burning money just in case they might have cancer, or just in case they have a terrible car accident. And then you've got single moms, many Americans that are really struggling that are on the ACA. If you double their health insurance or even triple it, these people they're either going to have to drop it, or they're going to be choosing between rent and their health insurance.
This was part of her interview with CNN's Manu Raju. Watch what she says here. Let's play it.
It is hurting so many people, Manu, seriously, so many people across the board, no matter how they vote. I'm literally calling it out and saying, let's take off our Democrat jerseys, let's take off our Republican jerseys, and we should do something responsible for the American people and fix this.
This is where she then says that I think that Trump is getting very bad advice from people who he surrounds himself with. Let me show you this clip right here.
You've been such a close ally of the president's. Are you worried about being on the opposite side of him on some of these issues?
I've supported the president for the longest time. I was one of the only Republicans in Washington that did not turn my back on him after January 6th. Traveled the country, spending millions of my own dollars supporting Donald Trump, helping him get elected. And I think I'm still supporting him now by saying Republicans in the House and Senate need to do their job and come up with a solution for the American people. And I'm supporting him with my policies. Being against the Ukraine war, he was saying he wanted to end that war from day one. Being against foreign wars, he's always said he's against foreign wars. So a lot of my stances actually support the president a lot more than perhaps maybe some people on his own White House staff and a lot of these Republicans that just put their MAGA hats on literally a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, do you think that he's maybe straying from some of those MAGA principles that you're fighting for?
I've never speak on behalf of the president, but I don't think he's always getting the best advice.
From his staff?
Possibly, yeah.
Every journey has turning points, times to keep going, times to change course. But when debts pile up from credit cards, loans, and medical bills, it can hijack your future, keeping you stuck, making you feel like you've lost control of the wheel. Out on the open road, you never ignore warning lights. You'd act fast before the breakdown. That's why more people turn to PDS Debt. They've helped hundreds of thousands escape the trap, pay less, and take back the driver's seat. Whether you are struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS Debt has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. I use this and you should too. Don't wait until debt forces you off the road. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Meidas. That's pdsdebt.com/Meidas. pdsdebt.com/Meidas.
And then Marjorie Taylor Greene has been making posts like this all day. she posts somebody saying, yes, paying $25,000 a year for a family of 4 on top of a $5,000 to $9,000 deductible is a structural flaw. That's the equivalent to the cost of a major surgery every single year. It is. It's an issue. It's a problem. Marjorie Taylor Greene writes, this is literally the same story I hear day in and day out. Our health insurance system is crushing people, and there is currently no easy off-ramp. She goes on to say the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was passed in 2010 by Democrats, which created the healthcare crisis we are now in. I'm going to fact check her in a second. The results have been insurers leaving the marketplace, premiums skyrocketing, and the level of care dropping. Democrats want to keep funding it, and Republicans have no new solution. The issue, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is that Republicans never had a solution, or maybe they did. Their solution is let people die. Don't provide people with health care. You see, before the Affordable Care Act, there were 20-30 million Americans uninsured who didn't have health care and they would die. Also, the costs of health care were sky high as well. So before the Affordable Care Act, you had the same cost issue, though right now there's an affordability issue in general out there that's far worse than in 2010. Trump promised he would make things more affordable. Things have gone worse, and he's not even publishing Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation and job and economic data anymore. But with those Affordable Care Act subsidies, it did at least keep the costs of healthcare at a level that wouldn't put people into medical bankruptcy, right? There were ceilings on how high the monthly premiums could be. And look, I think people didn't love the Affordable Care Act plans. It was better than what existed before, and that's indisputably. But Democrats came up with a plan. Now, I have a better plan, I think, to the Affordable Care Act. I'll tell you what my plan is. My plan is that there should be universal health care. My plan is that health care is a human right and that health care should be free and the government should pay for it. Well, where, Ben, is the government going to come up with that money? I believe that rich people should be taxed more. At the first level, rich people, I believe, should be taxed fairly. And then I think once we tax them fairly, because right now they're getting away with basically paying less taxes than people in much lower tax brackets by far. I mean, that people who are making far less money are paying more taxes than billionaires. But then I think billionaires should pay more money. And I think that should fund universal health care. You'll still be billionaires. You'll still have 10 private jets instead of 15 private jets. But you know, you're a billionaire, and I think that part of using and taking lots of the resources within the country is you just pay a little more taxes. That's it, just a little more. And I think we can fund universal health care on that basis. And I think there's other ways that we can fund it as well. I think if we stop spending a ton of money on some of these foreign wars and contributing to atrocities abroad, I think that that's a way that we can reduce some of our spending. And by the way, if Donald Trump came in with $17 trillion, then it'd be very easy to fund it. But of course, he didn't really bring in $17 trillion. So there's universal health care as a model. There's the Affordable Care Act with subsidies as a model. And then what's the other approach? So come up with something. I mean, Donald Trump claiming that he's going to reduce prescription drug prices by 1,600%. That's fraud. Numbers don't decrease by that amount. So that's not a plan. Donald Trump posting AI images of magical devices from outer space that he calls med beds, which is part of a QAnon conspiracy that cures everybody diseases. That's not a solution. But I do recall that during Donald Trump's first administration, over and over again, he said that he would roll out a plan in 2 weeks, and he never did. He never came up with a plan that's better. So the best plan we have is the Affordable Care Act. That's the best plan we have. And the subsidies keep the price low. Maybe we should do more subsidies. Rather than giving tax cuts to billionaires, I'd love to claw those tax cuts back and then put that money to subsidize it more and lower the costs more. But remember, during Donald Trump's first administration, this is what he said. Here, play this clip.
We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks, a full and complete healthcare plan. We're going to be introducing a tremendous healthcare plan sometime hopefully prior to the end of the month. It's just about completed now. Over the next 2 weeks, I'll be pursuing a major executive order requiring health insurance companies to cover all pre-existing conditions for all customers.
You told Chris Wallace that this summer would come in 3 weeks. You promised an executive order on pre-existing.
I have it already.
The president will be laying out some additional healthcare steps in the coming, I would say, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Now, I'd also remind you that, as Republicans go across the country and kind of mock people for getting Medicaid and healthcare, this is what Mike Flood, MAGA Republican from Nebraska, here's how he was greeted when he talked about healthcare, and I think this very demeaning way. Let's play this clip.
It talks about two big changes to the Medicaid program. One of those changes is that if you are able to work and you are able-bodied, you have to work. If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care? I don't think that a majority of Nebraskans agree with you.
This is a breakdown. We've done lots of breakdowns here where I've showed, like in MAGA Mike's district, someone who was paying $500 a month is now going to be paying $2,500 a month without the subsidies for their monthly premiums for health insurance. And that's not even talking about the deductible. This was a CNN's version of like the breakdown that I did. This is how they did it. Here, play this clip.
Imagine an older couple out there who's making $85,000 a year. That's not billionaires or anything like that, but that's a higher earner in this case. Here's their current premium, $7,225 per year. That's 8.5% of their income. That's sort of the top end under the current rules. Under the change, if it expires, that will jump to $25,000 per year. That's almost a 30% increase. That's almost 30% of their income, not an income. 30% of their income for the year. That's a tough thing if you're making $85,000 a year.
And then finally, just here are regular Americans on the street. Here's what they have to say about it. Let's play it.
Who's more responsible for the government shutdown, Democrats or Republicans?
Republicans.
Republicans, definitely, yeah.
Republicans.
Why is that?
They have the power.
Republicans! Why so? They control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Who else would be responsible?
I would assume the Republicans.
Republicans. I think it's the Republican. One party is in control of all three branches of government, and I don't think that there's really any reasonable way to spin this as the Democrats' fault.
I would say Republicans are good for one thing, themselves.
I mean, with everything that's going on and everything that Trump does, I think we can clearly see why.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. But, I think that I think that there's a lot of issues with Marjorie Taylor Greene, overwhelming issues with her. But on this issue, on healthcare, what she's saying is not something that I totally disagree with. I think and this is why it's pissing off Trump and MAGA. But this isn't a Trump or MAGA issue. The same way Epstein, why is, other than Trump covering up his own dark past, why are you making it about you? Shouldn't it be made about the survivors and these horrible rich men who engaged in a pedo sex trafficking? Why are you making it so personal unless you're actually in it? Because I think we know the answer. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.